Welcome back to another Python fundamentals tutorial. In this video, we're going to be talking about dictionaries. I would have to say dictionary might be one of the most popular container types. It is the key pair data type, which means that for each value that's in the collection, it can be referenced based on some type of code name. I like using the word code name. So the key could be anything. It could be a string, it could be a float, not a float. It has to be a ordinal type. So it could be a string or integer or something that, you know, those are the most two common types of keys. But pretty much to get to the data, you have to know the key to see the data. And what's really powerful about that, it really minimizes the needs to do a lot of looping through data if you kind of know where to go. One of the things I think keys are kind of derived from like sets and maps in C++, but what it is that you have this big database and we had this database of zip codes, and we use zip code as a key. Maybe my zip code provides me a set of information about that part of the state. So this zip code shows me all the addresses for that state. This zip code shows me all the addresses for that state, and so forth. Well, with dictionaries, because you know the key is the zip code, it makes it easier to get to the information that you need instead of having all the addresses together and you have to loop through the entire list to find my address because all the zip codes are there. So I had to go through, 4 times more zip codes and stuff to be able to get to that same data point. So the goal, the cool part about keys kind of act like pointers to data container locations, because a dictionary can hold all data types as well. So I know there's a lot of information at the beginning of the video, but I'm just trying to make sure I do a good job explaining kind of the concept of a dictionary. Alright, so let's get it. Let's walk through the basis of it and get your knowledge going on dictionary. So again, dictionaries is a mutable data type, which I've already said. Key value pair, which is separated by a colon, and then enclosed by curly brace. You remember in the last video, we also use curly brace for sets, but you got to put an object in there with a comma. Remember that? But the curly brace is the natural way to create an empty dictionary. And then the keys must be unique in the dictionary, but the values don't have to be unique. This is key. The keys cannot be duplicated, because if they were duplicated, the dictionary wouldn't know what area within memory to point to get your information back. So the keys have to be unique. Alright, so first, as always, we're going to create an empty one. So empty dictionary, and to do that, I'm just say data equal dict, it's a keyword, and then open parentheses, shift enter. This will create an empty dictionary. Again, if you're using Spider, you'll see it here. It's the type of dict. It has nothing in it, and it just has the curly braces that we created earlier. All right, so let's put some stuff in it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to make my first example is going to be like a one-to-one match. I want to have a key that returns the key of the word of the number that returns the value of the number. That's what we're going to do first. So to create that type of dictionary, I want a key that has and I want the data inside the dictionary to be the numbers 1 through 5, and I want the key inside the dictionary to be the word 1 through 5. And we'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna say data is equal. So when you start up opening, you're opening the squarely brackets, and then what I tend to do, once you put the first entry in, you put the comma, you press enter, so you can see it lined up. You don't have to do this, but I'm showing you the way I would set up a dictionary to make it easily readable. So the first thing that goes in is the key. So for me, the key is 1. You know what? I'm gonna make the key an integer so you can just see, and it's gonna give you back the word version. So the key is 1. So to set that as a key, I use the colon key. So that separates. So the left side is the key, and then the right side of the colon is what the value is going to be. So in this case, it's going to be the word 1. So then I do comma after it because I'm gonna have more than one key, and I press enter. Now I think in most IDEs, when you do this syntax right here, it's going to always bring the mouse back. When you press enter after the comma, it's going to bring it back to the beginning of the bracket, and you'll see why this is important. So you can, for each row, I can see what the key is and what kind of data is in that key. So all right, for this one, I want to say 2, and then the value will actually be the number 2 spelling, then the key is 3, and then we'll write 3 comma, key is 4, write the word 4 comma, and then the key is 5, and then we write the string is 5. And then I'm gonna have one more key because I want to kind of cover it within this example. I'm gonna have one, I'm gonna call, it's gonna be a string key, and I'm gonna call it all, and all is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just to show you that in dictionaries, it don't have to be a just simple data type. It could be a bigger data type. So I'm gonna put that into a list here. So the key will be a string that's all, okay, and then the data would actually be a list of those numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so I'm gonna grab all of this and make sure I don't have any errors before I talk about it. Shift enter. All right, so it works. I'm gonna double click over here. So there are 6 items in the dictionary. Yes, it is. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. The first 5 items are string data type. Remember, because we put a simple string in. So these are the values, as it said here. Values. This is what's going to be returned based on what key has passed. So the first 4 keys, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 5 keys have a string value type in it, just a string data type. And the last key, which is all, has a list that has the 5 strings in it. All right, so this is I think a good data type. So remember that the for dictionaries, they are indexable. So let's look at dictionary indexing. So if I want the one to return, well, you know, if I want the 1 to return, all I need to do is pass the key of that position. So they're indexable, but they're indexable by the key, not indexable. Like, that's what I meant, but I'll make sure I'm explaining myself. If I say data, open brackets 1, this isn't like 1 in regards to the indexing like we've done in other examples. This is 1 in regards to this key. So when I pass in this key and do shift enter, the output is the value that's in that location. So like again, this is like, these keys are like extra little reference pointers. They're pointing to different sets of data, different data within memory. So when you call this key, it says shoo, it takes you to that area where that data set is located, and it shoots it back as the data that you can actually use. So like for instance, that returns 1. If I use the key all, you remember we had an all key. It's a string, right? If I type in all and do shift enter, it's going to return back that list. See, now this all is a key that's referencing data that has a list in it with 5 elements. So it's returning that. So just like a list, once you get to that list, if I wanted to just return the number 3, I can do the indexing like I would with a list. So it'll be, now this is the 0's position, the 1's position, and the 2 position in the index. So if I wanted just to return the word 3, I can say all, just the key, and then I have to put index 2 because it's the second index in the list, 0, 1, 2, third element. So shift enter, and I get 3 back. By getting the list and then returning back the index number to the list to return the value that you want it to be. Again, there's nothing special. Part of me wants to, I'm gonna redo this down here too. I'm gonna redo data. I'm just gonna copy it, and I want to change the keys because I can see how I can make it confusing because the keys remind you of indexing, but these keys could be anything. I'm gonna change the key here to all strings: A, B, C, D, E. So say if I wanted those to be A, B, C, D, and E, and they give you values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I just rerun this piece of code, so it'll do the update to the instantiation. And so now instead of 1 returning back 1, A is now going to return back 1. So data, open bracket A, shift enter. See, now A is returning back 1 because, again, A is the key now. This used to be 1, but now it's not 1 anymore. So A is pointing to 1 now. All is still pointing to the list. B is pointing to 2. C is pointing to 3. D is pointing to 4. And E is pointing to 5. Okay. So that's the two most common approaches to setting up a dictionary. Again, up here, this is also called mixed keys. So like we have keys that are integers and keys that are strings. So that's allowed. There is nothing wrong with of doing different things like that. So this is, like I say, the general setup for a dictionary. Now, a lot of times what happened is that you will be given things in dictionaries. I think dictionaries is a very, very common data type, especially if you're not using a package called like Panda, where you actually have data frames. Dictionaries kind of like helps do what Panda does now. Like it was like how you had to do data analysis before you had these packages that really assist you in data analytics. But it was the data type native to Python that allowed you to kind of like have column names with data. It's that same kind of relationship with the column name in the data, column name in the data, column name in the data, except it's not in a data frame. It's not in a matrix form table. So it's doing the exact same thing. And I think a lot of these higher order data packages like Pandas, NumPys pretty much are using the dictionary class as a base class for their software development when they're trying to make it easier for the human to work on this stuff. So that's why I wanted to make sure you have a good feel for dictionaries, because you will see a lot of them. And speaking on that, you're going to be given a lot of dictionaries. So say if a data type come to you as a dictionary, say you got this data type that we're talking about. Let's keep going. So somebody passed you in a data type and you said type data, and you shift enter, and it comes back as a DICT. First things I tend to do, you want to be able to look for what the keys are, and then what kind of values do it return. And there's 3 commands that allow you to do that, 3 functions built in that allows you to actually do that. So if I do, let's see, let me type in, let's see, return keys, return the keys. If you do data dot keys, it's an actual function, shift enter, it'll give you a list. It returns back a list of the keys in the dictionary. So we know if you didn't have this dictionary and you didn't have this GUI, you know now that there's key A, B, C, D, E, and all. And if I want to just see what the values are, I can say data.values, shift enter. And so now it's returning back all the different values in the key. So now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which relates to these first, right? And then you have all, which is a list in that position. Now sometimes this might be not, you might want to see them together, like the key with the value, and they have a, there's a function for that. It's called items. So this returns the key value pair as a tuple. So it converts it to a tuple. So if I say data items, shift enter, now you see the little tuple. So A and 1, so it's the key and the value, 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 and then the key and then the value. So it returns those as two pairs now. So that's how you can kind of explore the data type, explore what the data is, so before you start actually having to actually use it. Another thing, say if you wanted to update the values, we didn't talk about updating. So what if I wanted what's in A position 1, I want it to be number 6 instead of 1. All you have to do is go to that key, and if that key is just a single value location, you just update it like normal. So let's talk about what I'm about to do. What I'm going to do is change A from 1 to 6 to update the dictionary, the key data in that position. So I can say data, then open brackets A, and then I would say equal 6. Then when I do shift enter on this and go back here and look at A, you'll see A now is 6 instead of 1. So this is how you update values in a key location. Okay, so you just go and then make that change. Now dictionaries do have the ability to dictionaries do have the ability to pop things out of it, you know, like as a way of removing it. So for instance, say if I call the pop key without any, you know, without any extra rules, what it would do, it would end up popping that element out of the dictionary. So say if I was done with the list, say the all list I wanted to get rid of, it doesn't match the dictionary. All I have to do is say, let's say, let me put this here, to remove a key value pair. All you have to do is pop it. So you go to data dot pop is the keyword, and you put in the key. Remember, the key was all in this example. All is the key. So I do shift enter, and now you'll notice there's only 5 elements inside the dictionary now. So if I open up the dictionary, you'll see all is gone, and all we have now is A, B, C, D, and E. So that's where we are right now with that. I'm gonna show you. Oh yeah, there is another way to update. So up here we did it. The assignment way of updating A. We're gonna update B, and we're gonna make B be a list of 4 and 5. But the way I'm gonna update B, I'm gonna use the actual update function, and what it requires is the key and then what the data is. You can do it in one pass, so you don't have to actually go, pull up the key index, open up the bracket and do it. There's a function that you can actually use to update that. So I said I wanted a list of 4 and 5 as for B. So I can go down here and say, let's do this, update dictionary using the update function. Okay, so we can say data dot update, and then what we want to update is B, which is the key, and then this is the data we need to update it, and we're going to say it is, I'm opening up a list. Remember, a list is the brackets. You don't have to always assign it to a variable to use a list or dictionary of any of these types. I feel like by the time we've gotten to this video, you should be a little comfortable when you see something that's set up as a list. So I'm gonna say for this list, I'm gonna make it 4, and I'm gonna make it 5. So I could have set this as a variable. What I did in the update, I passed in the key that I wanted to change, and then this is the data I want to go into it, and that data is a list that has 4 and 5 in it. So this is the same as if I would have created a new list and passed it in. It would have done the exact same thing. So now I thought that's all. Oh, I got it. My bad. My bad. My bad. I'm telling you wrong. This is actually a dictionary you're supposed to pass into the update function. I just realized it. So to pass a dictionary in, remember it has to have the curly brackets in the front part. You know what? I'm making this more complicated than it should be. Before I do that, I'm gonna show you what this is because I don't want to confuse anyone. Let's delete this out of here because it'll be easier if I do it the right way. So say I have this new key value pair that I wanted to add to my current dictionary. So right now, well, I want to update a key value pair. I know I want to update B. I want it to be 4 and 5. That's what we said. So what we need to do is create a dictionary that has B and 4 and 5, and then you can pass that to this function and it will update what you have that data. So what we're going to do, I'm gonna call it B update. Just to be clear here, B update is equal to a dictionary that open with the squarely brackets, right? And the key for that, is B. We know this. And then the value we said we want that dictionary to have is 4 and 5. 4, comma 5. So now we have another dictionary, but this dictionary only has one key value pair. So a list size 2. The key is B and it returns a list. So I want this now, instead of just being its own thing, I want it to be the update to this B, because this B only has 2 in it, from the data. The data's B only has 2. I want B update to update the data's variable. So what I do is I can go here and just pass in B update. So when I pass in B update, shift enter, now I go check B in data. You'll see now B is now a list. It's not a string anymore, and it has the data 4 and 5 in it. So if I go now and print out D, or not D, if I print out B in data now, B, shift enter, you see now it returns back 4 and 5. What I want to confuse you, because I didn't talk about this in earlier videos, what I want to say is that this assignment, as you get more and more familiar with Python, this assignment is not necessary. For me, I don't do a lot of assignments unless I really need to assign the variable. So if I wanted to do this real time, you could remove this part and just pass in the value for it. So if I take this and then Control C and replace B update with what I just removed, this is legal too. It's not a requirement to have variables to pass in code. This code is legally written code. I think we make variables to make it easier for humans to read it, but the more comfortable you get, you'll start understanding that when you see this, you know this is a dictionary and that's the key and the values. You don't need to actually have a variable to let you know that that's a dictionary. So this same shift enter here, it's not going to break anything, but it's not going to really change anything either. It's going to be the same. But all I'm just trying to show you right now is the difference between assigning a variable and passing it versus just passing the syntax directly to the function. All right, let's see what else we need to cover. Yep, we need to talk about looping, dictionary looping. And dictionary has use the same. It uses these keys to kind of do the looping. So you have the same base loop system that you have with the other data types. Dictionary looping. So for val in data, like any other data type, you can print out val. And when you print this version, if I'm not mistaken, this only gives you the keys. So this is not as valuable as the other ones because they don't actually return the data, they return the keys. So if you want, in this form, if you wanted to print out the values, you can't just print val. Val is actually the key. So you have to say data, the name, and then open brackets val. This will print out the actual values. So now we're being printed out the values for those keys instead of the keys. So if you wanted to use this way of looping, you can. This is the classical way. You just need to know that the value by default is a key when you loop through the data, and to get the values, you have to pass that key into the data function that you have to get the values. So because this could be confusing, and Python does try to make things easier, there is a better way to get just the values and just the keys and the key pairs. So another way to do this, if you really just want the keys, you can say for val in data dot keys that we talked about earlier, and do print val. This will return an error. Give me a second. This here will return the keys, but that's all it returns. And you know, it's known, it's just the keys. And then if you do the other one for val in data dot values, this will return all of the values. Okay. So lastly, the only thing that you haven't done is the items. And what items does, I think it returns the tuple pair, right? So for val in data items, print val here, this will return the tuple pairs, right? So you remember we talked about this. If I didn't want it as a tuple pair, I can pass in the I do say it different here. Let me show you how I say this, since I know that's what it is. For, instead of saying like index val, that ain't how most people say, data would say key comma values. That's very common, but even that is even shortcut to KV. So you'll see a lot of times when people referring to dictionaries, they use the KV, which stands for key and value. So I can do it that way, or I can just use K, and then here just use V. So KV is more common in data dot items. All right, and then I can just say print. I'm just gonna put them both in K comma V. And what it's going to do, it's going to, it's going to print the same list, so they're not going to be in tuples. It's just going to be the value, the key comma the value. So this gives me access, so keys and values over here. And so this represents the value, this represents the key. So this gives me a lot of access to everything else. Just like if I was doing index and value for a list, to be able to get the key, the index, and the data for that position. This is how you do the exact same thing for a dictionary. And then you'll do what you need to do within that actual loop. Now the last thing, I think it's the last thing I want to cover. I almost didn't want to cover this. I almost didn't cover it because it's not heavily used and I didn't want to confuse you, but we should at least talk about it a little bit. That there is a ability to do what they call dictionary. That's what I'm trying to debate. There's a thing that you can do. It's called a dictionary comprehension. That's what it's called, like list comprehension, dictionary comprehension. And so like with the lists, you remember, I think I talked about it, that it's the I forgot what it was right off the bat, but the expression for the dictionary, let's do dictionary comprehension. So it's the first is the key value pair. First of all, it's open brackets, right? It's not the squirrely brackets. No, it's the squirrely brackets. Oh, my bad. I'm not open brackets. These brackets are killing me. Then you have the key dot the value. That's what you let it know that's just what you want to use. Then you have the for. That's the this part here is what you want to happen. This is the expression. So key and value, and then for key value in a tuple key comma value, if I'm not mistaken. If I messed this up, I'll go back and correct it in the recording part, the production of the video, but I think this is right. So for key value, telling it what you want to tell it what list, what dictionary you want to do it to, And so that's in, I would call it dictionary. If you're confused right this second, don't worry, I'll do an example. So say I don't know, for inside the data dictionary, we don't even have any actual numbers. I'm gonna update the dictionary to have some numbers, a key with numbers. So I'm gonna actually use the update to show you the function. So I'm gonna data.update like we did, and then I'm going to remove all of this, open bracket, parentheses to do it straight up. I want a key no, I want the key to be numbers, and then I want the values to be a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I'm passing is, I say I want the key. I'm going to update this dictionary to have a key that's numbers, and then have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I do shift enter. As you see, the dictionary was updated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and it has a key named numbers, and I'm going to show you numbers. So we go down here to data, open bracket, numbers. Shift enter, and you get the list back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, I think that is all that I'm going to cover for this video. Let's do a recap. So what we went today, we talked about dictionaries, how that they're mutable, that you can change them, that they have this key value pair relationship, and they use curly braces to actually instantiate the different lists. So we created an empty dictionary. We did dictionary indexing. We talked about how to return the keys, the values, and then the key value pairs using the items function. We talked about how to update the list and remove items from it. Not a list, update the dictionary and remove items from a dictionary, and also how to update the dictionary by passing another dictionary to add to the larger dictionary. And we talked about the different looping strategies that you can take in dictionaries. Again, there's more to dictionaries, but I really do believe that if you can get familiar and able to easily flow through dictionaries using these coding techniques, you'll be ready to do some great things with them in the future. Again, take care. I enjoyed this, and have happy programming.